Renzo, I try to limit my exposure to social media.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yes, for my mental sanity. But yesterday I made a mistake of spending maybe more time than I wanted to. And I saw one news that to me was la gota que derramó el vaso.
Oh, and that's a perfect segue into what is this show? This is just a Spanish phrase. And la gota que derramó el vaso, that's the phrase that we're going to be focusing on today. On this podcast, the companion podcast to News in Slow Spanish, instead of teaching you this beautiful Spanish language through current events, we spend a little time to have fun and look at the origins, the history, the uses of common idiomatic expressions. And this one is...
La gota que derramó el vaso.
That's right.
And how would you translate? Let me see the I don't know how to translate.
This is a tricky one. Okay, so if we do it literally, which we always like to do here, literally it would be the drop that spilled the glass.
Okay, but what is in English you guys have an expression.
Yes, a totally different one. It is...
the camel something.
Yes, the straw that broke the camel's back, which sometimes gets abbreviated to the last straw. You've heard that one.
Oh.
Like, this is the last straw.
I never made the association between the two expressions. Okay, but coming back to la gota que derramó el vaso is pretty much the thing that makes you lose it.
Yes, that's one way to put it.
Yeah. And this news I saw yesterday on Instagram, first of all, almost made me lose my patience. Ooh. I made my blood boil. Ooh. But also made me think about tourism and how many touristic destinations are facing behavior by tourists that makes the locals... it's la gota que derramó el vaso among the local community. They're like sick of
We're talking about
mass tourism.
Misbehaved tourists?
Yes, exactly. So the news I saw yesterday about was this guy, I don't even want to name him or remember his name, who threw a rock in Hawaii.
Oh, I saw this.
You saw that, right?
I did.
At a peaceful seal.
A seal. I think it was a harbor seal. Species. I might be wrong about that, but a seal.
Not only threw a rock, a heavy, big rock directly at the animal, which to me, animal cruelty, you know how that makes me angry.
Oh, that is, you draw the line at that. So do I.
Yes. And child cruelty, of course.
Sure.
And yes. Any kind of
cruelty.
Goes
without saying. But anyway.
Innocent creatures.
Yes, the seal.
Cruelty.
So the man threw a rock at the seal that was out in the water, right? I think I saw the video.
He threw a rock. A local was filming him and say, hey, what are you doing?
Where was this?
In Hawaii.
Right.
And I don't remember which exactly of the islands. And then the guy turned around and said, hey, I'm rich. I can pay fines. So it was a double insult.
Wow. So not just the action itself, but the reaction by the man who threw the rock when he was confronted. I didn't know that part.
Well,
he said...
I'm assuming that part. I've seen the video with both parts, but nowadays, we don't know. But I do know that he is now facing legal consequences. Mm-hmm. And the authorities are speaking up, saying this is not the behavior we accept in our tourists.
I did see one piece about a local politician that said, obviously, we don't condone violence. Because then later... A local, did you see this?
He was tracked and somebody...
Right, a local resident of Hawaii tracked down this man who threw the rock at the seal and took justice into his own hands and attacked him, beat him up.
Which I know it's fair. We never condone violence.
Right.
But now I'm happy to hear this guy might even face prison, the guy who threw the rock at the seal. So, but... going back to our expression, la gota que derramó el vaso. It made me think also of another tourist who swam into the Fontana di Trevi.
Oh, in Rome.
Yes. So more and more behavior we're seeing from reckless tourists, irresponsible tourists that are making local communities say, that's it. We don't take this anymore.
Exactly.
Es la gota que derramó el vaso.
Exactly. The straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah, when you brought up tourism, I was thinking more generally, there's been in the last couple of years, we've seen a growing movement for protests of residents of these big tourist destinations like Venice. Even Mexico City has been seeing this a lot.
Barcelona, too. They were attacking tourists with little water
guns, right? To disturb them, right? They're having lunch on a patio or a restaurant that has outdoor seating and then shooting them with water guns. But the idea is to make a statement, to protest the presence of mass tourism and the negative impact that has. Because obviously people always make the argument that tourism is always positive because of the economic development that it brings, the money just in general that flows through that city with tourist spending. But there are all these other unintended consequences.
Yeah, like for example, the price of
housing.
Of housing.
Yes.
Airbnb and all that.
But now that is the buildup of tension. And then you have something like this man.
Disrespectful tourists, just disrespecting local traditions, local customs, local. I remember I went to Laos once, and once you arrive to Laos, you see like a poster saying, please cover yourself. This is a religious community. We don't want, people showing like too much.
Yeah.
And
decency, public decency is what they call it.
If in Rome, do as Romans, respect the local rules.
So, sorry, and I cut you off earlier. So don't jump into this famous fountain and treat it like a swimming pool.
Yes, just because you can pay the fine. But that trip in Laos, I remember I was reading the instructions, and right next to me there was a girl, a tourist, I don't know from where. She had such a tiny, tiny little miniskirt that you could pretty much see everything. It's like, oh, this is exactly what you're not supposed to do.
Right. And it's giving...
So it's like, why are you expecting the country you visit to adapt to you when you are the visitor? Right. Same with people visiting Kruger National Park or safaris in Africa. Why are they expecting the animals to,
pose for them? Like pose for them?
Yeah, or to pose for them. It's like they are the intruder. They are the visitor. And
that really comes back to like respect, right? Like showing respect as a tourist, being a responsible tourist, and little things like, always being, from a young age, being taught that when you go into the woods, for example, into nature, you should always carry out with you whatever you brought in. That's like one very basic way of showing respect for nature.
Exactly.
So.
La gota que derramó el vaso.
Exactly.
The origin.
And people showing disrespect that way, it is a literal representation of this figurative idea. The idea that there's an accumulation of tension, and then one very small thing can be enough to break the whole mess. So in the English one, the straw that broke the camel's back, it's very easy to envision a camel loaded with tons and tons of straw on its back. So much weight from all this straw that's getting carried, they're using the camel for work, that even one more piece of straw is enough to break its back. It's too much weight. But what's important about this proverb, which actually it's an ancient Arab proverb, that's the origin of the straw that broke the camel's back, is that even a little bit is enough to cause a domino effect, cause a chain reaction of negative consequences when there is an accumulation of tension already there. So
it's exactly the same metaphor as the drop, the last drop that makes the water
spill over. Exactly. So you have to picture a glass that's already filled to the brim. It can't hold possibly not even one more drop of water. So just one drop of water is enough to cause the whole thing to spill over.
And that is the origin?
Yes. But what's interesting is that looking into la gota que derramó el vaso, there isn't a pinpoint origin for this Spanish variation. In fact, what's interesting is that it may be derived from the Arab proverb itself, the one that survives unchanged in English, well, translated clearly to the straw that broke the camel's back. But at some point in Spain's history, that ancient proverb from this Arabic proverb about the camel became a glass of water.
Maybe it was easier to explain to kids or something. How do we know?
Or perhaps it was a resistance to Arab, influence after that.
Of course,
history.
yes, of course. They have a lot of history.
Yeah, some animosity there after 700 years of occupation. But at some point during the early, the siglo de oro, the golden century of Spanish literature, this adapted version of the glass full of water started appearing in literature. And that became
because we don't use the camel one at all.
Exactly.
I
grew up
saying
the
Spanish one, la gota que derramó el vaso. Some other places say la gota que rebalsó el vaso.
That's right. The verb might change, but it's always the imagery of the glass full of water, and it's ubiquitous in all of the Spanish-speaking world.
Yeah, and I think we are adding the minute that will make this podcast way too long. So
we have to stop before we do that last. Yes, we'll end it there. Thank you for listening to Just a Spanish Phrase.
Adios.